Okay, so in this video, we'll be talking about getting ready to ship. Now, the key thing here is you don't want to be the one that ships buggy code and breaks everyone else's project so that they can't open it. That's really bad. Now, there's two main ways that you can go prevent this. Number one is through testing, and number two is through code reviews. So, how do we do both of these? Well, they can both be set up at the repository level as mandatory, but even if these aren't required, you can still do code reviews whether you need them or not, and I would highly recommend that if you're working on a small team, just so that everyone else kind of knows what's going on. They're really great in terms of knowledge transfer. But before we get into code reviews, I wanted to go over one thing over here. If we scroll down here, you can go see that this repository has checks. Now, what these mean here is that the owner of the repository set up basically rules that automatically run, in this case, when you create a pull request. And so what you can see is that it goes and checks that you're following the Google style guideline, it checks that you can go build it, and it checks that that it passes the tests. And it does this automatically every time. Now, most repositories don't necessarily have this, but if they do, this is your first place you want to go check for what improvements you need to make. You notice how we scrolled past all this? There was an automatic bot that marked a lot of the stuff for code review, basically saying, I'm not following the style guideline well enough. And so here it says, oh, I've got too many, it's too far indented. And I think there's a lot of these that are like that. Oh, here's another one. We need to go, change our variable name. So what we're going to do here is we can go through and we're going to go make these code changes based on basically an automated review, and we'll come back to that once those are fixed. Okay, so we're back, and I just pushed a commit basically to go fix some of the check styles ones we saw up above. We'll be talking a lot more about these types of comments in a little bit once we get to code reviews, but I wanted to focus more on the bot stuff first because that's something that I know a lot of people haven't necessarily seen before, and I wanted to go over it in case you do see it. So again, these automatically run, and as you can see, this one automatically generated a code review, but this one just says that it failed. So what we can do here is this is actually a build script, and if we go to details, you can go see the information about what ran and what the error was. So in this particular case, you can see that our code doesn't build because we're missing a semicolon. If we go through and we go and fix that code, so we go over to point.java, we add our missing semicolon, we save it, and then again, in terms of commits, fetch, stage, commit, and then push. As soon as we do that, we've made another code change, and it's immediately reflected in our work log over here. So as you can see, we have an added semicolon commit, and as soon as we did that, not only are the bots rerunning again, but it goes and it keeps updating the documentation. Again, this is another reason why I love doing pull requests early, because you can go through and you get this type of feedback, even if you're not necessarily expecting it. And I knew about the semicolon. That was one I planted in there deliberately for the build review. But what we can do is we can go keep track of it as it's happening. So literally, we made some changes, we got comments, and even before we were done programming, we were able to go take the comments into account for the rest of our programming, and that's really helpful.